Well, it's 7 p.m. We can begin. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Rent Stabilization Commission of the City of West Hollywood. Tonight, on Thursday, January 14th, 2021, I call this meeting to order. And everybody, please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda tonight is the oath of office. We have a new commissioner to join the commission, and Mr. Hall, who will be administering the oath of office.
Councilmember Shine, is that why you've joined us tonight?
It is. Hi.
Wonderful.
Hi. Hi. Welcome, Councilmember Shine.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you may begin the administrative process.
Thank you very much. It's good to see everyone. Happy New Year, and I'm glad to see you all healthy and safe. And thank you for your service. Kimberly Copeland, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kimberly Copeland,
I, Kimberly Copeland,
do solemnly swear that
do solemnly swear that
while serving in the office as a member of the Rent Stabilization Commission
while serving in the office as a member of the Rent Stabilization Commission
of the City of West Hollywood,
of the City of West Hollywood,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations, Commissioner Copeland.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Shine, for the appointment. Appreciate it.
Congratulations, Commissioner Copeland. Congratulations and welcome on board. And I'm sure you will enjoy the service on this commission, and you will be a great addition to the commission. And thank you, Councilmember Shine. Mr. Secretary, I think we're ready for a roll call now.
Commissioner Bergstein?
Here.
Commissioner Charity?
Here.
Commissioner Copeland?
Here.
Commissioner Kirkes?
Here.
Commissioner Maggio?
Here.
Vice Chair O'Keefe?
Here.
Chair Topshe?
Here. Well present, and we have a quorum. And the next item on the agenda is approval of agenda. And I'm sure everybody has reviewed the items before us tonight. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
To approve the agenda.
Commissioner Maggio, motion to approve the agenda. We have a second.
I'll second.
Commissioner Bergstein seconded. Mr. Secretary, may we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bergstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Charity?
Aye.
Commissioner Copeland?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirkes?
Aye.
Commissioner Maggio?
Aye.
Vice Chair O'Keefe?
Aye.
Chair Topshe?
Aye. Agenda is approved. Next item is approval of minutes Commissioners, has everyone reviewed the minutes of our last meeting on December 10th, 2020?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of December the 10th, 2020.
I think Vice Chair has something to say.
Yes, I have two requested amendments to the minutes.
Sure.
On item 10, in the second to last paragraph, it says that Chair Bergstein shared concerns, ... and he posed requiring landlords. That was a typo, I think, and it should be opposed landlords, requiring landlords to provide documentation on the interest earned on security deposits. Commissioner Bergstein, if you want to just nod if I am correct in your thanks. So he nods, yes. And the second one was something that I said. It was also in item 10. It's the last paragraph before the bolded text. And it says that I propose changing the formula from the nearest 0.25% to the nearest 1%. And I'd actually proposed changing it to 0.1%. And I've emailed those to our commission secretary, so he has it in writing too. But those are the two revisions I suggest.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Do we have a motion to any other amendments, Commissioners? If not, do we have a motion? Do we have a motion to approve as amended?
With those corrections, I approve the minutes of December 10th, 2020.
Thank you, Commissioner Maggio. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Curtis, thank you. Mr. Secretary, may we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bergstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Cherry?
Aye.
Commissioner Copeland?
I will abstain since I was not present. Thank you.
Commissioner Kirkes?
Aye.
Commissioner Maggio?
Aye.
Vice Chair O'Keefe?
Aye.
Chair Topshin?
Aye. Minutes are approved. Thank you, Commissioners and staff. Our next item is public comments. Do we have any speakers tonight, Mr. Secretary?
Not at this time.
All right, thank you. Okay, then next item is manager's report, and we'll have acting rent stabilization and housing manager Jonathan Hollop. This is your time, Mr. Hollop.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Jonathan Hollop. I'm the acting manager for the Rent Stabilization Housing Division. And the look-ahead calendar right now has us with an appeal next meeting on January 28th. We'll also be discussing the letter regarding broken elevators that was brought up, I believe, at the last meeting. And then we'll have information on subletting under the RSO. On February 11th, we currently have 2 appeals scheduled, and that's the extent of the appeal calendar right now. And I'll make some comments, staff comments, towards the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? Commissioner Maggio, please.
No, I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
All right, Commissioners, no questions? All right, the next is Commissioners' comments. Anything at this time, Commissioners? Yes, please, Commissioner Maggio.
Yes, I would like to welcome the new commissioner. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure. I don't know if I met you in person, but I'm sure I will one day. Thank you.
Commissioner Curtis.
Yeah, I just wanted to welcome Commissioner Copeland as well. I have known her for a while, and we've had several conversations outside of commission meetings, and I think she'll bring a much needed and unique perspective to the commission. So welcome, and whatever we can do to help you adjust, but you've been to several of our meetings, so you know exactly what we do.
Thank you so much.
Commissioners. All right, so I also want to again formally welcome you, Commissioner Copeland, to the commission, and welcome on board.
Chair, I had two comments.
Commissioner Bergstein, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Commissioner Copeland, I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome you to this commission. While I think all boards and commissions are important in the city of West Hollywood, this particular commission really touches on the quality of life of so many of our residents. It's a really wonderful position that we hold, and I welcome you wholeheartedly to this commission. I also am happy to see our staff attorney here one last time, but Allison, it is Santa Monica's gain and certainly our loss. I have so enjoyed your advice both on the commission, and you and I share some personal political similarities, so that while you may be leaving the city of West Hollywood's employment, you always have a place in my heart and my mind, and I thank you for all of your work over the many years. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, I also want to thank Allison for years and years of a great service to the city and of course to the commission. You've been absolutely amazing as a legal counsel, providing much needed legal assistance and advice when needed. And thank you for your wisdom, and definitely that's our loss and Santa Monica's gain. So good luck to you and with your new position and career, and you will be missed, Allison. Thank you.
Chair, if I can interrupt for a moment, I'm getting a message from the public. They're having difficulty dialing in. They've asked that we announce the passcode for dialing into this meeting. If our secretary can announce that, so those that are listening online can get that passcode.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I also want to welcome back Mr. Holub in a new to the commission in a new role now as acting rent stabilization housing manager. So we know you for many years, but this is going to be a new role, new capacity, and welcome and good luck. Thank you. All right, commissioners. Then we'll move on to the, if there are no more comments at this time, we'll move on to the appeal item of the agenda tonight. And we have one appeal scheduled, that is application D-4537 that pertains to the property address 7511 West Norton Avenue, apartment number 5. I just want to first confirm that, yes.
I just want to thank you. I was going the same direction you were going, but I want to confirm that people have access.
Right. So I want to confirm first, Mr. Secretary, if the parties are here and they're able to hear and see us, and so they can participate.
They are all at with them now.
So let me know. Yes. Oh, I see both parties are here.
I need to interrupt for 1 second. The public is still waiting for the passcode.
Right.
We'll wait. We have
We'll
two people trying to dial in the meeting. Can we have the secretary announce what the passcode is to dial into this meeting, please?
Yes, it's 158450.
One more time, please.
158450.
They're not speakers, right? And they're not part of the appeal. They're just members outside. Yeah.
So I have a question for legal counsel. So we're announcing access codes online here for people who can't get access to come online here. I'm wondering who we're announcing it to and where this number is from, because it's not on the agenda that I see, unless I have the wrong agenda.
I think that's a question for our Commission Secretary, where the passcode comes from. As far as where we announce it, I assume that this meeting was noticed in the usual way, and assuming that the passcode on the notice is correct. If there are technical difficulties, there might be, I don't know if the Commission Secretary has a way. I know that typically at the City Council meetings, the mayor will announce things that people can do if they're having trouble calling in. I don't know if those are options here as well.
Yes, the ID, the meeting ID is posted on the agenda. There's also a message to send me an email to request to be a public speaker at the meetings.
So the passcode is available, right?
Yes. It is not posted on this agenda, though.
So they're still trying to sign in, log in.
Oh, we have the parties with us now.
Okay, so we can continue. We can continue our meeting. All right. So since the parties are present for the appeal, what I'm gonna before we begin, I would just like to take a minute just to explain the appeal process. First, the commission will hear our staff report presented by the department's legal counsel, Allison Regan, and the commissioners may direct their questions to the legal counsel after the report is heard. After that, each party will have 5 minutes to address the commission and present their case. The appellant in this case is the tenant, and he will go first. The appellant will be able to divide the time, the 5 minutes, between the presentation and rebuttal portion of the appeal. The respondent will go next and will take 5 minutes entirely to address the commission and present their case. Well, I just want to remind that you have to keep your comments to the topic. This is not a second hearing. The commission will review the grounds for which the appellant believes the hearing examiner's decision is incorrect. Therefore, no new issues may be considered by this commission, nor may new evidence be presented to the commission. Please keep your comments to the issues presented at the hearing. And keep in mind that legal counsel or I may interrupt you at any moment if you go off topic or introduce any new evidence or information that was not part of the hearing. And once we close the public comment portion of the appeal, the commission will begin the deliberation. All right, with that said, Ms. Regan, we're ready for your report at this time.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. In this case, the tenant applied for a rent reduction on the grounds that there had been a substantial reduction in a housing service, in that 3 large cypress trees had been significantly cut down without providing a corresponding rent reduction. The hearing examiner denied the application on the grounds that the tenant had not shown that the landlord was enjoying excessive rents as a result of the loss of that housing service. Staff recommends that the commission reverse the hearing examiner's decision. The standard for awarding a rent reduction is whether or not there has been a substantial reduction in a housing service without a corresponding reduction in the rent, irrespective of whether that results in excessive rents to the landlord. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Regan. Commissioners, do you have any questions at this time for the legal counsel? Commissioner Bergstein. Commissioner Bergstein, yeah.
We were given in our packet a memorandum from Mr. Birnbaum, I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name, where he is requesting that not only is there to be a reduction in rent, but one that is substantially above the guidelines in the RSO. Am I correct that this commission does not have the authority to impose any reduction in rent that is outside the guidelines in the RSO?
Well, the guidelines are guidelines, but it has to be tethered to the value of the housing service as a function of the rent. As we have discussed in the past, the amount can't be punitive, and it can't be based on some type of compensatory damages. It has to only be a tool to rebalance the rent and the housing services that are being provided.
Commissioner Charity, questions at this time?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Regan, for joining us. In the proposed resolution, A rent reduction would be warranted for all tenancies in place before December 2018. And I just wanted to confirm if that was what we were doing here this evening. Are we giving a rent reduction to just the one tenant that applied for this appeal? Or would this decision apply to all tenancies in that building before December 2018? And the second part of that question is, how many tenancies are there? Do we know?
In answer to the first part of your question, yes, this was noticed as a common area issue. So to the extent that the commission decides to reverse the hearing examiner's decision and award a rent reduction, it would be for the tenants that were in place, obviously before the housing service was significantly reduced. As far as the number of the tenants, I don't know that off the top of my head. I will try to find that information for you.
Commissioner Copeland, any questions?
The only thing that I wanted to clarify, I guess maybe, is that when we're talking about a common area reduction, we don't have any provision for something that may be in a common area but affect one tenant more than the others. This is the tenants all as a group or as a whole equally reduced. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. I think that's all I have right now.
Thank you. Commissioner Curtis?
No, Commissioner Copeland asked the question I had.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Maggio?
No, I have no questions.
Thank you. Vice Chair O'Keefe?
Yes, I had one question. So I believe usually when we have a common area issue, usually at the end of the resolution, it says each of the unit numbers and how much they would have a reduction in each individual unit's housing service. And there's a ruling for, this unit gets this reduction, this gets this reduction. In this case, because the staff recommendation recommended overturning the hearing examiner, I don't see anything in the record saying, what units were occupied before 2018. So would you advise we remand that, or is this something that we can do if we were to agree with the staff recommendation?
I think that is something that we could do at the administrative level without a formal remand.
Thank you.
Okay, and I just want to ask Ms. Regan, the guidelines that show the gardening and landscaping reduction is actually the current guidelines, they show $23, and the report states $21. So just for the accuracy, we can always consider changing the figures, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. With that, if there are no more questions for Ms. Regan, I will open the public comment portion of the appeal, and I will invite the tenant, Mr. Burbaum. Sir, you can hear us, right? Can you unmute yourself, please? Sir, if you can hear us, if you can unmute yourself. Okay, perfect. So you can hear us. So now, sir, you will have, as I said, 5 minutes to address the commission. And you may divide your time between the presentation and the rebuttal portion of your statement. Would you like to do so, or you want to take 5 minutes now, or you want to divide it, the time between now and after the owner speaks?
Good evening, commissioners. I am having a technical difficulty because there seems to be an overlap or delay in the audio. And so I'm hearing overtalk between yourself and the commissioners. And I can't make intelligibly out what is being said because of that overlap of the audio. Is there any way you can advise me on how to resolve that problem?
I can see if both the audio are on for your phone and your computer. If both the audio is on for your phone and computer, you will get that echo, that delay and echo. So only one sound system.
I'll turn my phone off.
Turn the volume off on your, that may take care of that.
is being said because of that.
Also, sounds like he, in the background playing the on the West Hollywood TV, WehoTV, he would need to turn it off, or at least the volume off.
Can you turn off the TV if you have the TV or other device?
I've turned off my phone.
What about your television? Is it on?
No, the television is not.
It's his internet.
And I'm still
WehoTV.
getting.
Or could be multiple windows open on your computer and something is on the background. Maybe you can close all the windows and keep only this commission video.
Okay, I'll do that. I'm doing that right now.
Okay.
The television is off and my computer is spinning a colorful ball. Now that, I think I just accomplished the task.
So can you hear us now? Well,
I can, and now it's clear audio, and I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm a dinosaur when it comes to technology, and this
no worries.
This is my first Zoom experience.
Okay, no worries. So that I will repeat what I said before.
I think I know what you asked me. How much time I wish to devote to my presentation, and how much time to devote to my reply.
Correct.
Thank you. I'd like to split it evenly, 2.5 minutes for my presentation and 2.5 minutes for my reply.
Thank you, sir. So with that, Mr. Secretary, please note that 2.5 minutes now and 2.5 minutes for the rebuttal. And sir, you can you may begin. Please state your name and the city of residence for the record.
My name is Sam Birnbaum.
Can you speak up also?
I'm sorry, what was the last thing you asked?
Can you speak up?
Yes, my name is Sam Birnbaum, and I'm a tenant along with my wife, Media, at 7511 Norton Avenue, apartment number 5, in the city of West Hollywood, California, and have been a resident here since August 2011. So the hearing examiner stated that we had been residents for between 5 and 10 years. He was correct, but to be more precise, 9 years, 9.5. And this is Appeal D4537. I've submitted, my wife and I have submitted a statement on appeal in response to staff report. I'm not sure if the commissioners have had an opportunity to review it, but in order to save time, I don't wish to repeat much of what I presented in that statement. And basically, I believe that this is a very, very narrow issue for the commissioners to consider. And I agree with the staff's report recommendation that the hearing examiner's decision to deny a rent reduction should be reversed. More importantly, I wish to direct the commissioners to focus their attention and authority with respect to the amount of reduction that the staff recommended. Staff recommended stated that the guideline for landscaping reduction of services was $21. I believe I may have heard someone say now it's $23, and then reduced that to $10 or $11 based on some alleged notice from the insurance company. My problem with that, and I heard legal counsel said, well, guidelines are guidelines, and the purpose is to, in this case, or in any rent reduction case, rebalance the services that have been reduced or eliminated with the rent income to the landlord. And this is very difficult for me because we reside in an apartment that is serviced by one stairway at the very front of the building. It's an exterior stairway that was adjacent to the wall of greenery. That's the way the hearing examiner described it based on photographic and testimonial evidence. No other units use that stairway. And to get to the bottom line, the cutting down of the trees has created what I believe is an unintended consequence. And that is that the two black metal handrails on either side of the stairs is now, on any day of 80 degrees or more, too hot to touch.
Mr. Birnbaum has 2.5 minutes.
All right, then I'll wrap up by saying, based on the elimination of our access to and from the unit, I believe $10 or $21 is clearly inadequate.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioners, are there any questions for the appellant? I hear none. All right, then I will now invite the owner of the property or the representative to the landlord. Sir, now it's your time to present your statement, and you will have 5 minutes, and you have to use the 5 minutes entirely now. And please first state your name and the city of residence for the record. And then you may begin.
My name is Charles Eberly. I'm president of the Eberly Company. We are the property management company for this property. My residence is in Beverly Hills.
Thank you. You may begin now.
This is a conflict between insurance and the housing department of the city of West Hollywood. Our insurance company required the owner of the property to cut these trees down because they wanted all trees to be at least 3 feet away from the property for a fire hat because of fire hazards. Okay, if you know, are familiar with cypress trees, they can't just be trimmed. Cypress trees are a type of tree that is a very heavy growth tree. There is no real easy way to trim them, and the trunk of the tree itself was within 3 feet of the building, which the insurance company required to be cut down. So that is what we did. We cut it down in order to comply with our insurance company's recommendations that they said they wanted in order to renew the insurance. Now, I tried to provide, at the time of the hearing, I did not have the document that I needed to have from the insurance company and its agent. Okay, I did have that. Just the other day, I got that from ownership. I tried to submit that to the city, and I was told I could not submit that to the city. So you do not have anything in your packet as far as this is concerned. But in the hearing, I did testify under oath that this was due to insurance. So I don't know how you want to handle this matter. We have to, obviously, we need insurance for the property, okay? If the insurance company requires us to do something or don't have insurance from them, I don't know what we can do. If the city of West Hollywood says those trees have to stay there, otherwise we're going to give you a rent reduction, it's a conflict. I don't know how do we win this conflict? And it's basically, I leave it in your hands because honestly, I don't know what to tell you here. These cypress trees, another problem with these cypress trees that we were told by the insurance company, they were right up against this gentleman's stairwell, okay? If they were lit on fire by a homeless person or something like that, which we all know has happened in the city of West Hollywood and every city lately, we've had fires, dumpster fires, everything all over the place. So these insurance companies are more concerned these days with these possibilities. There's a staircase there. If those cypress trees went up, that whole staircase would be engulfed. His whole front door entry area would be engulfed with flames. This was their concerns. They wanted that stuff cut back so there wasn't that potential danger. And that's all we tried to do. We didn't do this because we wanted to cut down cypress trees. We did this because we were told to by an insurance company. That's all I have to tell you.
All right. All right. If there's nothing to add, sir, commissioners, do you have any questions to Mr. Eberly? Or hear none? And then in that case, I would like to invite Mr. Birnbaum back to the microphone, and you can speak. You can use the remaining 2.5 minutes for your rebuttal, sir. Again, unmute yourself, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Everly. I'd like to respond to 3 of Mr. Everly's statements. He stated that the 3 trees needed to be 3 feet from the property. They're more than 3 feet from the property, so that's not the issue. He says cypress trees can't be trimmed, but if the commissioners look at the hearing examiner's record, it's clear that the trees were topped 2 months before they were chopped down. And it was that topping that responded to any insurance notice, because Mr. Everly testified that the insurance company said the trees could not go be above the roof line. So they were actually resolved with respect to the insurance notice 2 months before they were chopped down. And they are not up against the stairway. There's a distance between the stairway and the trees. Not a great distance, but some distance. And it's not, in my statement for reference, if the commissioners wish to see how I respond to that, I say, even assuming arguendo, that there have been some insurance notice of potential hazard, the fact that the trees were topped 1 month before they were chopped down demonstrates the chopping down was not in response to the insurance notice. The key here is there are 6 consequences of the chopping of the trees that take this tenancy and occupancy to a different level than they were 9 years ago when we moved in. And the last thing I want to say is I appreciate the city of West Hollywood. I was a 16-year-old delivery boy when I first noticed this building. That was in 1965. I moved here 9 years ago. And if I had known about all the services that the city of West Hollywood did for seniors, I would have gotten older sooner.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioners, questions at this time to the appellant? All right. If there are no questions to the parties, I will close the public portion of the appeal, and the commission may begin the deliberation. Commissioners would like to start. Commissioner Kirkus, please.
Before I start my comments, I do want to ask the question just to see if Ms. Regan might have any advice on how to. We're not going to have her last night go out easy. I want to have her make it work. Do you have any recommendation or advice for how we deal with a situation where I believe there's 8 units. I don't know how many tenants are actually a plot or will receive the reduction in rent, but you know, had another tenant brought this to us that was on the other side of the building, the impact would be less. And so the hearing examiner probably would have come up with a lower dollar value in terms of the service, or potentially, and I won't say probably, potentially could have. But we have a situation here where the tenant at this end of the building, who is directly impacted, and lists the several reasons why that are legitimate, it makes you want to value it a little bit greater. It seems like a more significant difference to him. But we have to choose, look at the service and what the value of the service was. Do you have any recommendation or advice on how we come to a conclusion on that?
Yeah, I mean, you have exactly hit the nail on the head as far as what the challenge is for the commission tonight, and that's not something that I can help you with. but you have articulated exactly what it is that you will be looking at, and to the extent possible, you want to look at the objective value of the service, because you will be applying the same rent reduction to all of, well, there at most 8 units, and then
Mhm.
however many were there.
Thank you. So, may I begin, Chair? Is that
Sure,
correct?
yes, please.
So I don't see that anyone has done anything wrong per se in this situation. All we are doing, and all the hearing examiner did, was decide that there was a loss or a reduction in the housing service, and although the hearing examiner didn't decide that there was a value to it, we do, or I agree that that we do need to overturn the hearing examiner's decision on that portion. And I would first like to clarify that not only are we overturning the hearing examiner's, or I would like to overturn the hearing examiner's decision in that it was irrelevant that the landlord accrued no benefit, but the decision actually says, and I'll read the whole sentence, the point, though, is that the trees cut back was occasioned by necessity, and the landlord accrued no benefit from the loss of this tenant amenity. Accordingly, no rent decrease on this basis is in order. So I want to make clear that it's also been precedent that we have, as the commission, not made a determination of the loss of a housing service on the necessity for the landlord to remove it. A lot of code violations require actions by the landlord that may result in a reduction of housing service to the tenant. And what the commission, and I believe what the recommendation here tonight has reinforced, is that yes, that does affect maybe the value, has a potential effect on the value of the amenity or the service, but it does not define or eliminate the fact that it could have been a reduction in the service. So I haven't actually seen the resolution that was drafted and sent to us tonight, but I just want to make clear that if we do proceed with this, that we address both the basis of necessity and the basis for the no rental, or the landlord didn't accrue any benefit, that those are both mentioned in the recommendation as to why we overruled the hearing examiner. When it comes to the value of what the lost amenity or housing service was, I think that I'd like to hear my fellow commissioners' opinions on this, because as I mentioned to Ms. Regan, is that we have a balance that we have to make, and I want to hear what everyone else has to say before I opine on that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bergstein.
First, Mr. Beerbaum, I just want to make sure that you understand you are not a technology dinosaur. I think I am not the only commissioner on this body that it's been a huge learning curve to do these meetings virtually. So aside from the early volume issues, you did a fine job on technology. So don't refer to yourself as a technology dinosaur. First, I want to talk about the issue of why the trees were cut back. Tenants in the city of West Hollywood and the ordinance have extraordinary protections, but property owners, landlords, still do have rights in the city as to the building itself and the land itself. So the landlord could have cut these cypress trees back for insurance reasons, or from the fire department, or for no reason whatsoever. They are on the landlord's property. He can do with the trees as he wishes. There are consequences, which brings us here tonight. But the tenant really doesn't get to dictate what happens to the physical building unless it necessitates a reduction in services. Some of the language in the tenant's memorandum about the trees being chopped down or cut down, I think is not appropriate. These were trimmed back, but it's not like they were chopped down to the ground, roots removed, the trees don't exist. They are still there. I did talk to a friend of mine who used to be the head landscaper for the Getty Foundation, and she mentioned these trees grow at about 3 feet per year, so it's a fairly fast-growing tree. And Commissioner Kerpes, I disagree with you a bit about the location of the trees. These trees were located on the south side of the property. If these trees had been located on the east side of the property and had been cut back, that would have dramatically increased, particularly the morning sun. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west. As the sun would be coming overhead, that would have just increased the sun on the eastern side. But on the south side of the building, or the north side of the building, it is more of an indirect sun. So it provides some shading, but it is not as serious as the removal of trees for shading on the east side. We've had a couple cases before I've been in this commission. One was on Genesee, where the apartment was essentially on the sidewalk, about a foot away from the sidewalk, and the landlord, because of damage to the building, needed to remove the tree. But that totally exposed the tenant directly to people walking on the sidewalk. And we gave that person a $20 reduction, later reduced to $10, because the trees were also causing a rodent infestation. We had another case at one point on Fairfax Avenue. Same thing, there were some pine trees that were dangerous that were on the west side of the building, so that dramatically changed the lighting. But since these were on the south side of the building, while there is some change in the lighting, I would not say that it is as dramatic as if it had been on the east side or the west side of the building. So I'm going to be voting in favor of staff's recommendation. And I would like to also hear from my fellow commissioners on the valuation. I don't see exceeding $20 for these. And no matter if we do order a reduction, want to mention that the landlord can always move for a compliance determination at a later date if the trees were to grow back. And those are my comments at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Bergstein. Commissioners, Commissioner Charity, please.
I'm also generally in favor of the staff recommendation, albeit for different reasons. We are on solid legal ground to overturn the hearing examiner's decision, as our West Hollywood rent stabilization ordinance does not have that excessive requirement. I am a bit troubled by the evidence that there doesn't seem to have been any accommodations attempted or made at all here, and that does trouble me. Obviously I share the same concerns as Commissioner Kirby's, where we have a little bit of a knowledge gap in terms of, and Commissioner O'Keefe, in terms of how many units are affected in this common area ruling. It's not going to be a perfect science. I'm interested to hear my fellow commissioners' ideas about the valuation point, and I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Commissioner Copeland?
Hi, yes, I think my question also lies with the valuation, because I think everyone's in agreement that there was a substantial reduction in service. And I agree with staff's recommendation to reverse the hearing examiner's decision. I definitely believe that I think it's clear a rent reduction is warranted. Regardless of the reason why it was removed, and there's been a reduction in service. So my question also lies with the valuation. Other than that, I think that's the only comment I have right now. But
thank you. Commissioner Maggio?
I think it's kind of romantic to read a report where it starts with Joyce Kilmer's poem, I Think I Should Never See. That kind of makes it romantic. But these trees are not in a forest, and in a forest, they could clean themselves, they could fall. These trees need to be cleaned and trimmed. And of course, these trees cannot be trimmed. They obviously have to be cut either in half or quarters or eighths. And trees like this, of course, do cause a lot of problems in terms of foundation, rodents, fire issues. Of course, there's insurance issues. And so for me, I call this important and necessary upkeep. And I feel that the owner is being penalized for following some of the important rules of insurance and safety, fire safety. So I probably am the only one here who does not agree with any rent reduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chair O'Keefe?
Yes, I'd like to start with a few questions before our legal counsel. First up, Ms. Regan, Is it a defense to a reduction or request for a reduction in a housing service that it is required by insurance? Is that relevant to our analysis?
As we have mentioned, it goes only to the value.
Okay, thank you. Second, for the valuation guidelines, is $21 for the entirety of all landscaping, like all trees put together, or is that for a single tree?
My reading of the guidelines, it says landscaping / gardening.
Thank you. And then finally, the tree is marked as a common area issue. Is it possible that there could be separate relief, perhaps under maintenance standards or something else, for a handrail that became excessively hot? Is that something you can answer?
Not in this case. In this case, the way that the issue was framed and it was noticed as a common issue.
I apologize. I mean, if it were raised anew, I know we can't rule that in this case because the specific issue has to have been raised. But is it possible that a separate petition in the future could be filed that's individual, that's on the railing, that's only for one unit on that one issue?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it would depend. I think there's probably an argument to be made that this might be sort of precluded because it would have been raised in a previous decrease case. But I think they would have to. I think they'd have to take a look at that.
Okay. So for my opinion, I am inclined to agree with the staff recommendation to overturn the hearing examiner's finding. There is no requirement that it be excessive rent if there's a substantial reduction of a housing service, which there was here. The valuation, while it certainly seems low for this individual, and if we could do so, I would love to see us revise the entire guidelines so it's possible to have something that's both a common area and that has a unique amount for an individual that's disproportionately impacted by the change, but that's not the regulations or the ordinance as they stand today. So given how they stand today, for one tree to have been cut substantially, $10 to me seems like it would be the right place to land within the valuation guidelines, although certainly it's more of an impact to Mr. Byron and his wife. I do not, on the issue of insurance, it's not a defense, it could affect the valuation. I do note that we have not, the letter was not submitted in time. The way it's described in the hearing examiner's report is not at all clear that the exact actions that were taken needed to be taken. It's not clear if they could have been trimmed to the roof. It's not clear if it could have trimmed half of the branches, the 3 feet or so that are closest. So it doesn't sound like it's that relevant to our analysis anyways, but I would just note that from what I'm reading from the hearing examiner, there's not enough for me, even if we were to, take it as its word, that it said precisely that it had to be cut this severely. That's it for me.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Briefly, I just want to say that I agree with staff recommendation that the findings of the examiner was an error. And that there was a substantial reduction in housing services. And I agree with Vice Chair said regarding the insurance requirement, because nothing was provided by the owner at the hearing, so we don't know what the insurance company wanted to, what would have been the requirement from the insurance company. So we can't really speculate on that since nothing was provided to the hearing. And what the fact remains is that it was a 20-feet tree that is now between 6 and 8 feet tree. So there is a substantial reduction in housing services, and there is no doubt about it. And we have the staff included determinations from prior resolutions from prior 2 cases, and I believe Commissioner Bergstein mentioned those. The similar cases, and the commission determined the appropriate rent reduction for those cases. So I believe that yes, the rent reduction should be granted. And now regarding the valuation, I disagree with the $10, and for a couple of reasons. Number one is a reference to the prior cases where there are $10 in one case, $20 in another case, rent reduction granted. Those were, I believe, based on the old or prior year valuation guidelines for gardening and landscaping. Currently, we have $23 for the gardening and / landscaping services. However, I think one of the commissioners asked that question to the legal counsel. These guidelines are suggested guidelines, so the commission can determine, may decide what will be the amount of the corresponding rent reduction based on the evidence and based on the facts that we reviewed. So if we believe, and most of the commissioners I heard question the valuation of the $10, so maybe we can discuss the different figure for the reduction. Clearly, this rent reduction it's not punitive, as legal counsel explained to us. It has to be a reasonable amount, but it cannot be punitive. Obviously, that's not the goal. Here, it has to represent the reasonable return. I mean, a reasonable reduction for the loss of the service. So, and I would just ask you, commissioners, if someone can come up with the dollar amount, maybe if you disagree with the $10 amount, Commissioner Bergstein.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the history of prior decisions that I mentioned earlier. They were both for $20, and particularly the 4255, which was the building on Fairfax, is the most similar to the issue we have before us tonight. That was the pine trees that were removed that were facing, I forget, eastbound or westbound, but the $20 reduction actually was a little bit, I think the consequences of those removal of those trees is a little bit more severe than what we have here tonight, just because the way the trees were oriented to the building. But I feel that a $20 reduction is kind of in line with how this commission has ruled in the past would be appropriate for the trimming back of these trees on the south side of the property. So I would suggest a $20 reduction until the landlord can go for compliance determination, if so chooses.
Okay, thank you. We have a $20, we have a suggested $20 rent reduction for the services. And the other question I also have, Commissioners, regarding whether it applies to it's common area service, definitely. Would that apply to all of the units, or would it be applicable to this tenant's units only? And that's the question we also need to answer. Because I personally find with a $20 reduction, but I want to hear from other commissioners. What do you have to say?
Chair, I believe it has to be all because the issue was raised as a common area issue. So all tenants that were occupying the building before December 2018, it would apply to. But as Commissioner O'Keefe brought up, we don't know exactly which tenants that this reduction applies to.
Okay.
I think it is all tenants unless one has opted out. I know the decision on Genesee Avenue, 2 of the 8 tenants opted out of that decision. So I'd be comfortable with us recommending a reduction for all tenants on file and allowing staff to determine how many units are in the building and if anyone has opted out of this appeal.
Okay. Commissioner Corpus?
So yeah, I don't think we should spend our time on figuring out who it would apply to, because it would apply to all people prior to that date. So I find that irrelevant. I'm a little concerned, and I'm surprised that I actually that Commissioner Bergstein would be going higher than what I would feel comfortable with. But under the guidelines, the $23, I'm going to say 23, even though the staff report says 21, but let's say the current guidelines say $23 for gardening and landscaping. That is a service that gardening and landscaping I see as a monthly service that would come to the lot, rake the leaves, sweep up the sidewalks, trim the bushes down. It'd be a monthly regular thing. This is I won't say a one-time service, it's a one-time act, but the service is not in its entirety. So I don't really, I'm not going to oppose it if the commission majority agrees that $20 is the right, or whatever the amount was, $20. But I don't know if I would hope that we would maybe look at this more broadly and remember that our guidelines are $23 for a service like that. But that's all I'll say for now.
Thank you. Other commissioners? Anyone else? All right. Commissioner Charity?
Yeah, I just wanted to give my 2 cents and let the commission know what I was thinking. You know, this second cut of the trees was December 2018, and I am just troubled that there was no accommodation at all made for maybe heat-resistant paint or something to be put over the handrails to make them not as hot. So, you know, that makes me, you know, more inclined to go above the $10 amount as far as my decision is concerned, just because we do have some specific issues here that weren't addressed by the tenant in the record. And, you know, if there was a compliance determination to be made, maybe it doesn't have to concern waiting for the trees to grow again. Maybe there could be some other accommodations made to address these concerns. So I just wanted to bring that up. I'm in between where Commissioner Bergsten and Commissioner Kerpes are, but I am interested in the thoughts of the other commissioners too on that exact number.
Other commissioners? All right. Seems to me at this time we have a recommendation from Commissioner Bergsten, suggestion to use $20. I don't have any other figures in regards to the valuation. I'm fine with the $20 rent reduction that would apply, would be applicable to all the units since it's a common area, considered to be a common area service, and that's for staff to determine the units that would get the $20 monthly rent reduction. So I say at this point, yes, Commissioner Kerpes.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to let you know that I have a comment. But do you want me to speak now?
I just wanted to say that if we don't have any other suggestions, so I would say if nobody is going to suggest anything else, I would believe that we should make a motion to see if this $20 rent reduction would apply and to all units. But Commissioner Kerpes, I want to hear from you.
So I will support a motion that has the $20, but I think I think Commissioner Charity brings up a very good point. I think that we should make clear in the resolution that it is for these reasons. It's the service includes the harms that the appellant lists. So if there are ways that in the future that the landlord can show the city where he's mitigated the temperatures of the handrails, that's really my biggest concern. I think that's the highest value. But and the other issues that the tenant lists, that they be able to find other ways to comply than waiting 20 years for the trees to grow back or whatever. But also, if the trees do grow up as fast as Commissioner Bergsten believes they will, then the landlord can come back as well if the service is reinstated. So I'm okay with that as long as we have it made clear to the city and to the landlord and to the tenant that there are other ways to meet this or to mitigate this.
Thank you. So my question now, if the landlord will be able to mitigate the regarding the well, I don't know. Anybody else? Any other commissioners at this time?
Commissioner, I'm going to just jump in.
Yes.
So that's a different kind of a rent reduction that Commissioner Kerpes is referring to, because this is a common area issue that is about landscaping. And so because it applies to other tenancies, the compliance can't be based on the experience of a single tenant. So if the rent reduction is for, doing something to the trees and then the trees grow back, that's the compliance determination.
Which nothing has to do with the handrails, basically, if the landlord mitigates that. My question would be, Ms. Regan, if, hypothetically speaking, if it's determined $20 rent reductions that applies to every unit, but the landlord will be able to mitigate the handrails, would that necessitate to reduce the amount for this particular unit only, or that's irrelevant? We're not going to discuss that.
Separate issue.
Okay. So, Commissioner Kerpis, that's basically.
Is the landlord allowed to say something here?
No, the public speaking portion is closed now. Commissioner Bergstein.
Yeah, well, Commissioner Kerpis, I appreciate your comments. I think that we're kind of going off on a different trail on here, because if we're going to add language that if the alleged heat issue on the railings, for which there is no evidence in the record, is just kind of oral testimony. If we're going to say that, if that's mitigated, that they can go for compliance determination, but the tenant also raised there were issues of the landlord asking them to clean their balcony up because it now looked messy because the shrubs weren't hiding that, or there are issues of safety because I think I'm more comfortable just going with a reduction in rent because the trees were cut back, and if the trees ever grow enough to restore their prior service, then the landlord can then go for a compliance determination. As far as Commissioner Kerpis, your comments on it being housing service, I would separate out the thought of the maintenance of the mow and blow and the raking of the leaves and trimmings is a separate issue from this, which was the removal of the service of the height of the shrubs. I think it's different than just the regular weekly or monthly maintenance that may be taking place on this property. But I would be hesitant to place any parameters on our decision other than just, if the height of the tree grows back, they can come back for compliance. Other than that, I don't want to get in the weeds about, the railing or security or balcony views.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Kerpis.
So most of what Commissioner Bergstein just said was already wiped out by, we were already instructed by legal counsel that isn't valid. So we can ignore all the stuff that I was saying, and there's no reason to continue talking about that. But I am going to challenge you on the point, or ask you a question then. How is cutting down a tree gardening, a lack of gardening, or a loss of gardening service? Like, if we're supposed to, if you're questioning why I'm associating it with gardening, it's because that's what we're associating it with. So explain to me why having a gardener come is different or less valuable or equal value than cutting down a tree. That's where I'm stuck at. Because I see the two things as different.
So I'm a little lost on your comment. My understanding of your prior comments where you were essentially talking about the service that the landlord provides for maintaining the exterior of the building, the shrubs, trees, sidewalks, lawn, whatever that is, and that is separate. Then this is more of a specific issue on the maintenance of these the cypress trees themselves, nothing else. So I think it's kind of potato. About
that's what my question is how are you coming up with $20 then? I'm just trying to justify the $20 because I just can't justify it in my head.
I'm just going by our prior decisions on the two cases that are in our folder, the one again on Fairfax, the one on Genesee, which were similar to this issue. And at that time, we came with valuations of 20. So I see kind of a historical precedence for that dollar amount. If my fellow commissioners aren't comfortable with that, I'd entertain thoughts on a different amount. But it seems to be that's the precedent. We had one other case where there was a reduction of $4.50, but that was different. It was kind of on the side of the property on the tenant's lawn patio. It wasn't facing the street. So I don't place as much credence. That was on D4055. Is
that the rat one?
Nope, that was one. I think it's before your time and my time. It was about a, was a loquat tree, but it was more like the tenant's private lawn area on this property. So I think the rat one on Genesee, it was originally a $20 reduction because of the tree removal, which we reduced to 10 because they were causing the rodent issues. And then 4255 was the one on Fairfax where they removed the 3 pine trees completely that were at risk of falling over. So the Genesee and Fairfax, to me, are the closest to the decision before us this evening.
And in both cases, they use the landscaping and gardening guidelines, the figures for that. So the $20 was based on the guidelines at the time for landscaping. So we have the precedent set in the prior cases, and that's the best. That's the best we have right now to use that. Commissioner Maggio?
Let's see if I'm on mute here. Yes, I just would like to concur, and this case is very similar to Genesee and Fairfax. So therefore, I think $20 is a fair assessment. Although, I'm still inclined to think that the owner is being penalized for something that was very necessary because of insurance issues and because of fire issues. And these trees are impossible to trim. They have to be cut in a certain way, and they do grow very quickly.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Maggio. Commissioner Kirkus?
I think this is my last question.
Okay.
It's for Commissioner Bergstein as well. When you looked at the other cases and came upon the $20, did you also consider the fire issue in this case? Is that calculated into your $20?
No, because as we discussed with our legal counsel, that the reason for the removal didn't bear upon that. Same thing like on the one on Genesee, the trees were actually growing into the foundation of the property. They either had to remove those trees or the foundation would be shot. It was just the removal of the tree, not the specific reason as to why they were removed. The ones on Fairfax had to be removed because they were going to topple over. But that didn't affect my decision in either of those cases. It was just the removal of the trees as a housing service, not the reason behind it. I said it doesn't make a difference to me why it was removed, but just that they are removed.
Yeah, I think we need to wrap up our discussion, but Commissioner Maggio, maybe you make your last comment.
I just wanted to add to Commissioner Bergstein's comments. Yes, these other two cases that we are referring to were far more extreme.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners, anyone would like to make a motion based on what have been discussed? All right, if no one is volunteering, so let me try. Let me try to make a motion that we would apply, well, we would recommend a $20, we would set a $20 monthly rent reduction that would be applicable for all the units. And it is for staff to determine the units that will receive the $20 rent reduction. That's, if I'm not missing anything else, that's the only thing, right, at this time.
You want to mention that we are reversing the hearing examiner's decision?
Right, so we're reversing the decision, but what I want to say is that $20 is what the only figure we have as of now, and we're not going to include handrails or any other issues, as legal counsel explained. So in that case, I will recommend to adopt a resolution of the Rent Stabilization Commission, 21-589, a resolution of the Commission of the City of West Hollywood, of the Rent Stabilization Commission of the City of West Hollywood, reversing the hearing examiner's decision in application D-4537 on to apply $20 monthly rent reduction to all units, to all applicable units. And that's it. And I think the legal counsel can obviously change it to language. And since we don't have Is that okay, Mr. Regan? Yeah. All right, so that's the motion. Anyone would like to second it?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second.
I'd like to amend motion to amend the motion.
Okay,
I don't know which motion to make, but I'm trying to amend your motion.
So you have a different number, you have another motion?
I do. I have the identical motion, but amending it to 1150, which is, I don't know if I can talk on it now or if you want to get a second on it first.
We have a motion, we have a second. We need to vote on this motion.
My motion precedes that one. So if I get a second.
Okay, so.
The motion and a second on the.
Well, yeah, motion and second on the table. So we need to take a vote on this.
No, there's a motion and a second, and then there's further discussion.
And the further discussion. So
then Josh could have further discussion.
Okay, Josh. So, but Josh is recommending a second motion. Legal counsel, how can we?
I need a second.
So Commissioner Kerpes is making a substitute motion, and if there is a second to that,
okay.
That's that motion.
All right, Commissioner Kerpes, can you repeat the motion, please?
The only change is it would be replacing $20 with $11.50.
I see. Okay, anyone would like to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have two motions.
May I speak on this motion?
Sure.
Now you can discuss the substitute motion.
So the reason I came up with 1150 is because I believe $20 is too high. I just can't. I know I said I would earlier, but I just can't after the discussion support the $20. And the reason I came up with 1150 is because staff came up with $10, but they based it upon the guidelines of the $21 $20 or $21 guidelines, and that's so I'm splitting the difference of the $3 is $1.50. So that's why I'm coming up with 1150.
Okay.
I would second that. I agree that $20 is too high, and that 1150 should be the number.
Vice Chair has already seconded, Commissioner Machia.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Right. So then we're gonna have a vote on that motion first, right? Legal counsel, Ms. Urgan.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Secretary, can we have a roll call?
Motion, please.
On the motion, adopt a resolution, RSC 2158-589, a resolution of the Rent Stabilization Commission of the City of West Hollywood reversing the hearing examiner's decision in D-4537, establishing the monthly rent reduction $11.50 for all applicable units on this property. And it's been seconded by Vice Chair O'Keefe. So if no further discussion on this motion, Mr. Secretary, we're ready to take a roll call.
Commissioner Bergstein?
No.
Commissioner Charity? I apologize, Commissioner Charity. I missed it. Thanks. Commissioner Copeland?
No.
Commissioner Kerpes?
Yes.
Commissioner Maggio?
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Keefe?
Yes.
Chair Topshin?
No. So what do we have, Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Charity, can I confirm that was a
Was a yes.
yes?
Yes.
We can't hear you.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
You said
I
yes.
don't know why, but
4 yeses.
So we're 4 yeses, 3 noes. All right, so then that motion passes, and the rent reduction will be set at $11.50. That's very good. All right, for the parties regarding the appeal, what you heard, if you have any questions, please contact our staff, and they will explain to you if you have any questions about today's appeal process. And the phone number, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Secretary, it's 323-848-6503. Is that correct number?
6450.
Can you repeat that number, please?
Sure, 323-848-6450.
6450. Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation and attending the meeting today. You will be placed back in the waiting room. If you would like to watch the rest of the meeting, you may do so at weho.org/WehoTV.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. That concludes the appeal portion of tonight's agenda. And we're going to move forward to the next item on the agenda, which is new business. And I don't see anything scheduled tonight under this item. And Mr. Secretary, do we have speakers at this time?
We have one, Stephanie Harker. I'll admit her now.
Okay, so I just want to briefly remind that I would like to briefly remind that the Rent Stabilization Commission values are common. However, pursuant to the Brown Act, the Commission cannot act on items not listed on the posted agenda. Ms. Harker, you will have 3 minutes to speak, and then that's it. So you're welcome to speak. Please state your name for the residents and the city of record, although we know you.
Are you sure you know me? Good evening, commissioners. Good evening, staff. Stephanie Harker, West Hollywood. I did have to encounter some trouble logging on, as you well know. I am lucky enough to have all of your text numbers. So thank you for finally getting it on. And you're not the only commission that's had this issue. And I hope that maybe you can all talk to your council members and to the city staff and see if we can't have this be part of what needs to be done to include that passcode, because it's very frustrating. I've only been on hold for 44 minutes, which is just about 10 minutes shy of how long I had to hold for the post office once. So anyway, I just wanted to call in and thank all of you for your service, particularly Allison, who is departing, I hear. Congratulations on whatever your new position is, and I want to wish you well on that. And I would be remiss if I didn't call in to congratulate my friend Kim Copeland, now Commissioner Copeland. Kim and I met total strangers about, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. She was one of the very few members of the public who had shown up for a new group that never really got off the ground called West Hollywood Renters Alliance. And I thought, well, here's a stalwart citizen who wants to know what's going on. And over the years, we have become very good friends, and I think that Seppi Shine made a very good choice. Kim has a fantastically analytical mind and weighs things carefully, so I know that she will be a great addition to the Rent Stabilization Commission. It's good to see all your smiling faces, even if you are in the Hollywood Square boxes. But again, best of luck to you, Allison. We'll miss you. It's WeHo's loss. And congrats, Kim. I hope to see all of you in person sometime, maybe another year, you think? But stay safe. Miss you all, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harker. Thank you. Any other speakers? I guess not.
Well, Victor had put his name in. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. If he did he request, Mr. Secretary, we have anybody else waiting?
He did mention that he had another Zoom meeting.
Well, he's on the other Zoom meeting. I know he wanted to speak. I'm on the other one as well, but I left the room. Let me see if I can get him to call in quickly. Talk amongst yourselves.
How we face that scenario.
I'm not sure if we can do that. If we can't really wait for the other person, maybe at the next meeting we can show and speak.
No, we lost him. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night. All right. So The next is the commission comments. Commissioners, I see, I'll go in alphabetical order if you don't mind. Commissioner Bergstein first.
Not necessarily a rent stabilization issue, but for any residents who have been financially impacted by the COVID pandemic, I would urge you to continue to log on to the city's website, www.weho.org. At the very top of that website, there is a COVID-19 resources tab. I'm not sure if it's been updated. The County of Los Angeles is going to be announcing grants for residents who are affected, and I'm trying to toggle to my Facebook page to see what the link was. All I'm getting was 211la.org. You can sign up and then get either text or email notices of when they will be accepting applications. But any of our residents who've been financially impacted by COVID, please log on to the city's website and avail yourself of the numerous services available. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Charity.
Okay, great. Looks like my audio is working. I just wanted to congratulate Commissioner Copeland on her first meeting. Thank you for joining us. It'll be a pleasure to have you. And Allison, it's been a pleasure serving with you. You're really a fabulous legal mind. I really admired all the work you've done through the years, not only for West Hollywood, but the state of California. And I'll follow your career. So thank you for serving us. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Commissioner Copeland.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for the welcome. And I know sometimes changes on commissions are very difficult, but I will do my best to serve well. And it's a privilege and an honor to have been asked to serve, particularly on this commission, which is close to my heart. I was also wanted to say something to Allison Regan. She's done a wonderful job, not just the job that she does and the wonderful things that she does for the city of West Hollywood, but the manner in which she has done it has always been kind and patient, and that has not gone unnoticed. And I want to say congratulations. And Santa Monica will be very lucky to have you, and we shall miss you very much. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Commissioner Kerpis.
I just wanted to congratulate Commissioner Copeland again. Great job. I can't believe you voted against my motion on the first night, though. I'm sure former Commissioner Harker did as well, and she was an amazing commissioner. So I'm sure you'll still be an amazing commissioner. I did also want to congratulate Allison on her new job, and it's amazing. We're totally going to miss you here in West Hollywood. It's a huge loss for us, as everyone has already said. I am a little excited because I will probably still get to see and work with you a little bit here and there. We don't do a whole lot with Santa Monica, but in my day job, we do talk to all of our cities, not just West Hollywood. So I hope that will continue, and I hope that you'll continue contacting our office on anything that we can do legislatively and all that stuff. And I also wanted to, there was something else. Oh, I wanted to kind of talk to whoever might be viewing right now. The eviction moratorium for the city of California ends on January 31st, 2021. This is about 17 days from now. Although I can't promise anything that, and I'm speaking on behalf of my boss, the Assemblymember Bloom in the state legislature, although I can't promise anything that everything's going to be okay, there is a lot of momentum and a lot of discussions going on. They all understand, the legislature understands the importance of doing something before the 31st. And I think it will be last minute, but I think that they will protect you. There will be some changes and it'll be complicated. And like I said, it'll be last minute, but I do believe that you will be protected beyond the 31st. So be diligent, pay attention, support changes in the law, but don't panic. Because that's the last thing we need right now. There's too much going on. So just wanted to give you that little bit of information. No guarantees, like I said, but I just really feel confident that something will be done to protect you by the end of the month.
Thank you. Commissioner Maggio?
Yes, first of all, I would like to apologize to Commissioner Copeland. We have met before, and Stephanie just reminded me, so I apologize and an extra welcome to you. I've already sent Allison email and an extra goodbye to you. We, of course, will miss you. And I know you'll come back to visit us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vice Chair O'Keefe?
So I wanted to echo the hearty welcome to Commissioner Copeland. I'm excited to serve with you and look forward to having your voice be part of the commission. And also I wanted to echo all of the gratitude and congratulations on her new job to Ms. Regan. Thank you for always having such excellent staff analysis of all of the hearing examiner's decisions and being so patient with all of our many questions about legal issues related to it. We'll miss you, and also for contributing to our city, having us pay for legal defense for anybody facing eviction, which just happened to get through right before COVID hit and will be such a godsend to so many people that are in times of strife. Really appreciate that and wish you the best, and are grateful for the legacy that you've left to our city. And I also wanted to recognize that Peter Noonan, might have been mentioned, isn't with us anymore, and he's done a wonderful work to promote affordable housing and has always had good nature, and we'll really miss him as well, at the same time that we welcome Mr. Holub, and appreciate all the rest of the staff that have worked with him and for a long time and will be serving us well as well.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And I also want to, again, thank Allison Regan for the great service to the state aid, to the commission, and welcome Commissioner Copeland. And I also want to thank you, Vice Chair, mentioning Peter Noonan, who left the city for another position with the city of San Francisco. So I also want to thank him for the great service for many years to the city, to the department, and for being a wonderful manager for the Rent Stabilization Housing, and a great liaison to the Rent Stabilization Commission. He will definitely be missed. And wish him a good luck and great success. I also want to mention, Mr. Holub, at the last meeting, the commission kind of discussed the valuation guidelines, and we kind of requested that the discussion about the guidelines and possibly revisiting the guidelines, or the mechanism how the other cities, our rent control jurisdictions, what the mechanism they use, specifically Santa Monica and Los Angeles, to update maybe on a regular basis the guidelines. So it was a discussion, and then we requested the staff revisit this and maybe bring this up to the commission for further discussion and review, and maybe to suggest some changes or some updates to it. So, and since we have a new commissioner, Commissioner Copeland, and I think that would be really beneficial that if staff can, start working on that and see if it would be possible to bring something to the commission at the, some nearest commission meetings, so that we can see how the other cities do they increase on the amounts for the suggested guidelines, what the mechanism they use, and if we can adopt some similar tools or mechanism, or we can come up with something else. So if you can just see if it can be agendized sometime in the future, near future. That concludes my comments tonight. So staff comments is the next item. Mr. Holub, anything?
Yes, thank you, Chair Topchin. First of all, congratulations your appointment, and Vice Chair O'Keefe. It's been a while since I've been here, and there have been some changes, and congratulations on that. And also welcome Commissioner Copeland. We've had the pleasure of working in other contexts, and I'm very happy to see you here. I'm also very pleased to be taking on this role. As Commissioner Copeland mentioned, change can be challenging, and as Chair Topchin mentioned, something on my list. I have a big list I just developed within the last 10 days, and I'm looking at everything, and I work with as you know already, a fantastic staff at the Rent Stabilization Housing Division. They have welcome me and are helping me acclimate to this new position. And I am very, very appreciative of them. I'm appreciative of this commission and the work that you do. And I'm looking forward to working with you. Finally, I really, Allison, I'm going to miss you so much. You have been an extraordinary colleague and friend, and you have done so much for this commission and so much for this city and the larger community. I know some folks here know you beyond these squares, but what you've done beyond what's known here is known to me, and it is phenomenal. And you will be missed, and you are fortunately a phone call away, and I will definitely be bugging you. So thank you for your service. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, of course, disregard.
Thanks. I just want to thank you all as well. Thank you so much for all these kind words. I'm humbled by them, but it has just been an absolute privilege to work with all of you. And, this commission is unique in many ways, but I think tonight also served to showcase the incredible work you do and the seriousness with which you take the issues that are before you. I mean, that's so important, I think, for both tenants and landlords who come to you with problems that very much affect their lives. And so I think it's really a testament to your dedication and just the way you approach public service that is such the city is very fortunate to have you all serving in this capacity and serving on this commission. So it was really lovely to see that tonight. And so I really appreciate having been able to be a part of it and to assist you in some small way to do that. And before I go, I want to introduce John Natalizio, who is kind enough to come on board and serve as the legal counsel for future meetings. He is with Best and Krieger. And so, John, the commission, John. So he'll be with you at the next commission meeting at the end of January.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Natalizio, you want to say something? Can you hear? We just want to welcome you on board, and we'll definitely will work at the next commission meeting.
Thank you, Commission Chair, Vice Chair. I'm honored to be a part of this. I know how much how much housing means to the city, and how much this commission means to the city and the important work that you all do. I have big shoes to fill. I am well aware of that. I have watched Allison handle everything masterfully, and I've now become very nervous. But I will do my best, and I hope you bear with me as I get caught up. I look forward to working with all of you, and congratulations to Commissioner Copeland, as well as everyone else has said. So thank you.
Thank you, and welcome on board. We'll look forward to working with you too. Thank you. Thank you all. If there's nothing else, I would say that this concludes our meeting tonight. And until the next meeting of the Rent Stabilization Commission that will be held at 7 p.m. on Thursday, January 28th, 2021 via teleconference. So thank you all, and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.